everyone ready to go? All right. Then I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order at 12:03 p.m. and we will begin with roll call. I'm here. Chris?
Here.
Christina?
Here.
Louise?
Here.
Alex?
Here.
Jasmine?
Here.
Kelly?
Here.
Emmanuel?
Present.
Kyle?
Here.
David?
Here.
All right, we're all here. Before we go any further and conduct business, I would like to recognize that we are conducting our business on the native land of the Hahamanga tribe and that we should be respectful of those who came before us and offer a moment of silence. Moving on to the approval of agenda of September 9th, 2020, I would actually like to strike action item A, approval of institutional self-evaluation reports. Other than that, if there's nothing else that needs to be changed or updated, then I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda of September 9th.
I motion to approve.
I second the motion.
I heard
Can I
first.
make a quick change? And the giveaways, can we call them promotional items and not giveaways, please?
All right. Then I heard a first by Jasmine and second by Kyle. I'll go ahead and bring it to a vote. Chris?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Louise?
Aye.
Alex?
Aye.
Jasmine?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Emmanuel?
Aye.
Kyle?
Second. Aye.
David?
Aye.
All right, agenda's been approved. Moving on to approval of minutes of September 2nd, 2020. Right here. If everything looks all right and nothing needs to be updated or changed, then I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes of September 2nd. Can I get a first?
Motion to approve.
We have a first by Kyle. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
I second.
Okay, so it's first by Kyle, second by, I think it was Jasmine's voice I heard. We'll go ahead and bring this to a roll call vote. Chris?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Louise?
Aye.
Alex?
Aye.
Jasmine?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Emmanuel?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
All right, then we'll go ahead and move on to agenda item 2, public comment on non-agenda items. If we have no members of the public, we'll move on to agenda item 3, board reports. And so for this, we'll start off what I see on my screen. And so David, you get to go first.
Awesome. Okay. Let me pull up my board report. Okay, well, I mean, I don't really have much to report, but there's a board of trustees meeting this afternoon or evening at 6, but the open session's at 7. I met with Candace, Chris, and Emmanuel on Thursday to go over the student access to technology survey that they're going to be putting out to students in a couple weeks or in the coming weeks. And that was very constructive and we gave feedback and yeah, that's about it.
Thank you, David. We'll move on to Christina. Do you have anything in particular?
Okay, so last week I attended the meeting with the Curriculum and Instruction Committee, and we also talked about a lot of the different major requirements regarding the philosophy associate's degree major. And we also talked about putting fees required for classes on the class search page so that more students are more aware of how much they're going to be spending. But we haven't officially decided on anything within that sort. I also went to the ICC meeting that Chris held to introduce myself and also send out applications for my committee. And today, after this meeting, I'm going to be meeting up with Jeff Hupp, who's a part of the Counseling and Career Services, and Cheris Armin, I believe, who's the articulation officer today. But yeah, that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Christina. Jasmine, do you have anything you'd like to report?
Hi, yes. So I also attended the ICC meeting, the first ICC meeting of the fall 2020 semester. I am done with my applications now. They're just ready to be reviewed and hopefully approved to be sent out. And I'll be doing outreach this week. I also had another meeting regarding the building solidarity amongst PCC programs with Ujima Puente and the Cross Cultural Center. I had a brain fart. And no dates are determined yet, but hopefully will be determined within this week and ready to be announced next week. So I will need some support from you all then. And then that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine. We move on to Chris.
Yeah, so for me, obviously our virtual Club Rush website has officially launched and is now public to students. There should be a campus-wide email going out. Not sure what the status is on that, but you know, besides that, I know we've been getting a lot of really great feedback and exposure, just you know, with it being online already. I'm for sure you've heard of some, you know, people taking a look at it. Outside of that, though, I'm continuing to work on producing ICC training materials. Carrie and Jordan and I met yesterday to kind of align ourselves and talk about where we should go from here. On that, the next ICC meeting will be next Friday, so we're doing every other week. So if any of you are interested in talking to them or presenting something, let me know. But other than that, that's pretty much it for me.
Thank you, Chris. I will move on to Kyle. Do you have anything you'd like to report?
Yes, I do. I just met with Carrie a couple minutes ago. And by a couple minutes, I mean like an hour. And we talked about the revised business affairs amendment, which is going to be on the docket for next week, which we're going to approve. And we also talked about the possible logistical errors to put that into place, especially one where it's going to need an election to actually make a constitutional change. We were debating whether to do that in fall or spring. We haven't made a decision. She left that up to me. I'm more leaning over to spring and having more things on the ballot instead of running it in fall. But we can discuss that later time. If you guys are interested and want that on the ballot for some reason in fall, then I could work on putting the election out. And then I also transcribed and edited guidelines for the lobby fee fund. There was an initial amendment made in 1995 to that, which kind of got left off the Constitution. So essentially, I typed it up of that version and changed a few details that are more relevant and more current. And that was that. And lastly, I'm putting the final steps on my fillable PDF to be sent out in the next few days for my committee. Yeah.
Thank you, Kyle. Then we'll move on to Kelly. Do you have anything you'd like to report?
Yes, so this past week, make sure to get into contact with Director Lowe in regards to our statement. And then I contacted the Academic Senate and Classified Senate leaders for the Lobby Fee Fund Committee and set up a date for, it looks like it's gonna be projected to be on the 14th. I should be having the agenda finalized today, and I should be sending it to Carrie sometime by the end of today. I also reviewed the bylaws of the Lobby Fee Fund with Kyle, as well as setting up some contacts for Constitution Day in regards to possibly getting boba. If we do pass the lobby fee fund budget, then we should be able to spend that money. And in regards to Constitution Day, I'm really looking into, as Kyle brought up, the law library, walking through some artifacts and some educational information that they have. We can incorporate that also as a part of the event, but that's, yeah, just a general summary.
All right. Thank you, Kelly. We'll move on to Alex. Do you have anything you'd like to report?
Okay, so last week I went to the ICC meeting, for Chris's first ICC meeting of the semester, so good job to Chris on that. And I talked about my committee apps and introduced myself to the clubs. And then later today, I have the calendar committee meeting. And other than that, I have nothing to report.
Thank you, Alex. We'll move on to Emmanuel. Do you have anything to report?
No reports at the moment. Thank you.
All right. Next, we have Louise. Do you have anything you would like to report?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I hope you're all doing well and had a good weekend. Right now, I'm still currently waiting for Dan on the data for student data on their needs and challenges during COVID right now. But with that aside, I am starting to work with Veer from Health and Wellness to create an event for October for Sexual Violence Awareness Month, because it is during that month. And even though we don't have any data right now, I'm still looking towards Instagram polls to kind of ask students like what they would need and what their concerns are at this moment. And last thing is that I did hear that like counseling is one of the bigger issues right now, and I'm trying to figure out how to make that easier on the student side, because I know there's a lot of changes like through like pathways and like counseling itself, but I'm trying to see like what I can do on my end to help students figure that out. And that's all.
Thank you, Louise. I think that was everyone's report. I'll go on to my own report. I attended a student success meeting yesterday where the committee decided to update its charge. Later tonight, I will be attending the Board of Trustee meeting with David. I went to Chris's ICC meeting last week. Congrats, Chris. It went very well. It's nice to see ICC again. Later today, right after our meeting, I'll be meeting with the hiring committee for Chief Diversity Office, where we're going to review like our score sheets, introductions, and just get ready for the actual interviews. I contacted Michael Bucko-Hyde about speaking, being a student speaker. Hopefully that goes well. From what I've learned, it's going to be pre-recorded and that it shouldn't be too hard. So if anything, I'll come to all of you on recommendations on what I should say or how I could better be a speaker, because you all have heard how I speak. Other than that, I think that's all I have to report at the moment. So we can move on to advisory reports. Advisors, do you have anything you'd like to report?
Hi, y'all. Sorry I missed last week. Sometimes my other dean duties get in the way of my AS duties. So one of the things, first, I want to set up a regular meeting with Kyle, individual meetings, Mackenzie, Kyle, and David, so that you all can get on my schedule in a regular place so you're not competing with the other appointments I have. So after this, if we could work that out, or, let me know what your schedule, what the good days are for your schedule, so I can start plugging you in so we can have regular meetings. One of the things is, I know that folks have concerns about the Wi-Fi lot. And I think I'm getting a sense that there's some general concern that AS voice or student voice is not being included in decision-making. And I know Carrie is trying to support that and trying to advocate for you in different ways in different arenas. And I have also expressed that concern that your voices are not being heard and decisions are being made. But I just want to give you an example of the Wi-Fi lot, and it's not a reason for you not to have been included. A lot of us have raised concerns about the Wi-Fi lot. However, I have a better understanding because I know the decision-making that had to go in behind the scenes. And some of the considerations that have to be included are liability issues, student safety issues. The Wi-Fi had to actually be built up in that space and created for that space. So it's strong enough to support a lot of student pool on that. So that took a lot of time to do. And that was part of what determined where that lived, where the Wi-Fi lot lived. I know we've heard from staff and faculty who are like, same concerns as you last week. It's 100 degrees. Why can't students be in the shade? there are COVID issues related to that for one, in the structures, it's not considered a completely open structure space, which is more allowable in the city of Pasadena and LA County to have people gather in outdoor spaces. So, and we experienced this when we wanted to put the flea market, have the flea market come back and utilize the structure. We were told that's not a good idea because there's not enough airflow. So there are also things like, you know, are students really going to stay in their car? Are students going to wander around campus? Because every space that students access or that people access, we're required to clean. And so, you know, we talked about whether or not there would be bathrooms available to students access. And the decision was made that we can't open up bathrooms, interior bathrooms, because those bathrooms would have to then be cleaned on a different schedule. We did suggest the college in the meantime rent, you know, porta potties, but then the same issue happens, is a concern. So, you know, I hear you on that you need to be included, and I agree 100%. But I want you to understand there are lots of layers to making these decisions. And I know Carrie and I talk a lot about it. We see other colleges throwing these things up regularly. You know, we talk about why can't we have food pantry distribution like other colleges and things like that. And while in some regard, I still feel the same way, I do understand the decision-making that has to happen. And, you know, risk management has to be considered. Liability and safety for students has to be considered. We are not in a position currently to provide a mass indoor space for students who don't have cars. And then how would we regulate that? You know, so I just want you to know that these things aren't just made like, oh, here's a big lot, we'll throw some students in there, that there's more to the decisions that get made, okay? And one of the other things I wanted to let you know is, and that I would hope that Christina is involved in this and possibly Jasmine as well. There was a meeting yesterday to talk about the creation of a Black Studies department as part of our ethnic studies program. And I asked the question of whether or not there were students involved in that, and there were not. And so I made a recommendation to the leads of that meeting to invite folks from AS or to let AS know. But I do want you to know that is something that's happening. I do think it would be appropriate for Christina and Jasmine to be involved in that committee. And for those of you attending the Board of Trustees meeting tonight, I want to let you know that during public comment, the organizations of ALE, CAPE, and TABE will be making a public statement regarding the Board of Trustees inaction on, what is it, AC 16? Is that what, am I saying that?
Position.
Yes, for affirmative action to repeal Prop 209, in which at the last meeting, I believe it was David and 2 board members who were the only ones who voted to, even though it was presented as a negative, but voted to support discussion on the item. And the majority of the board voted to pull the item for discussion. And so I'm on the TABE executive board in all transparency. And so our groups decided that, you know, with all these statements and resolutions in support of marginalized communities on our campus and advocating and affirming those populations, then the very, you know, next month to go forward and not have a discussion, decide it's too political to have a discussion on this topic and on this very impactful proposition really is hypocritical. And so we are asking the board as a collective, as a collection of of groups and communities of color on campus to revisit that item and to have a public discussion on that item if they are indeed support of the communities of color and minoritized populations on campus. So I just wanted to make you aware of that so that you're not, if you're listening tonight, or for David and Mackenzie, or, you know, that you're not surprised by that. So, but it is in recognition of the courage and we think the correct step that David and the other two board members took at the last meeting. So that's my report.
Thank you, David. Do any of our other advisors have anything they'd like to report?
Yep. Hey,
oh, go ahead.
everybody. Hey, Jordan, you want to go? Go for it.
Just really quick. So now I forgot. I met with Carrie and Chris yesterday. We discussed solutions and possible things for the ICC retreat. Some of the points of contention I just wanted to share were the fact that, and this is for Dean Cobb as well, the fact that processes that we were supposed to be laying out for funding opportunities might change. And so a lot of the frustrations were, we don't know what Student Business Services is going to ask or require within a week or within a month or within 2 months. So right now what we're discussing and what we sort of kind of came to a consensus on is we just need to develop a process that's fair and equitable for students to access funds if they need to use them. And hopefully that is the process moving forward without it changing. I know it's been difficult for some individuals like Carrie and other people in the OSL to get reimbursed because the processes keep changing. And so just moving forward as a board, just recognize that. There was also something I needed to discuss. Why do I always forget? I always remember when either Dean Cobb is talking or Carrie talks, and then right when it gets to me, I'm like, oh, they just go out the door, it's fine. I contacted somebody in the bookstore to order your technological needs. I had told him that he can go ahead and place orders. We're getting lap desks for you all, so we can go ahead and see how we can get those available to you, or if you can come pick them up. And I'm getting, I'm gonna probably have to outsource and look for headsets with like microphones on them. So that way those that need that, I can go ahead and we can probably get those cheap off of Amazon. But he also is gonna go ahead and move forward with ordering the lap desks as well as the mice, I guess, the mouse, that you guys need, or you all need, excuse me. So that's in the process. I'm still waiting to hear back from him. Once I do that, I'll go ahead and forward everything to Dean Cobb and Carrie, so that way they know what's going on. But other than that, that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Julie.
Okay. So I have a list of stuff. First of all, thank you all very much. Congratulations. I freaking can't believe we've all made it to week 3. So give yourselves a big hand. It like has come and gone in a blink of an eye. So yeah, I'm a little bit in shock. A lot of good stuff has happened. I think a lot of things are still starting ready to go and ready to explode. So I'm really excited about what's going to happen. Thank you very much to Chris. If you have not yet gone to the Club Rush space, I'll type, or Chris can type in the address in the chat. It's amazing. It really is amazing. And thank you to Alex and Louise and Christina for helping, and Jasmine for helping out and being MCs on that, because hey, that's just kind of something that's not anyone, like when you get elected to office, you're not expected to be an MC, but you all came through and did a great job. So thank you all very much. I think it's really helpful, which kind of leads to my second piece. You all are getting famous. I got hit up by a reporter. He saw this information and wanted to know more about it. So I emailed, yay, the email just went out to the virtual, yeah, great. So anyway, 2 things. Yay, you finally got the email. I had to remind Carl, the guy, to send it out. So he sent it out. So everyone got it. You got a request by a guy named Jeremy Reams. He's with Pasadena Now, which is a local paper, but still it's a paper. and they really want to talk to someone. So they have emailed both Mackenzie and Chris, and neither one of you responded. You need to respond because they want a student perspective. I gave them the admin perspective, but they definitely want to hear from you as students. So if you do get stuff like that, first of all, if you get an email from the, not a member of the public, but the press, if you had a PR person, you would send that directly to them because they're your point of contact and they're the person to whom you make sure the message that you send out as AS is on par and it is even. So if you ever get approached by any sort of press, make sure you refer them to Mackenzie or to the Vice President for Public Affairs because they will make sure that your brand is upheld and that your message is upheld. So just so you know that, but congratulations to you all. You're all going to be famous within the local Pasadena and Altadena area because that's where Pasadena now goes. And I think that's a really great thing. I've sent that out to Cynthia Olivo, who is your biggest fan. May I say she's a super fan. Maybe I'll make her a button because she will shop that thing around the state. People up and down the state will see what you've done. So I hope you all give Chris a big hand, but also this is like a group effort from all of you. So congratulations and congratulations maybe to the third week. Don't forget though, if you get emails, you respond to them. Please, please, please make it a habit to check your emails at least once a day. We're launching we're launching a Canvas site. We just got the Canvas site this morning. It will be for clubs and organizations. All this great work that Chris is doing, he's really came into it and just said, we need to organize this. And so there will be a lot of videos about how to use Lancer Life. All our forms will be housed there, as well as PowerPoints and frequently asked questions. They will all be up there. Eventually they'll be organized into modules that students can access. And like Jordan says, one of the biggest moving targets we have right now is exactly how we're going to do money. It's still a little bit of an unknown, but we're going to chart our way through that. If you talk to folks and even your own processes, just remember, you got to be flexible because I wouldn't be surprised if halfway through the process, something changes. So there's that. For October, I too am pairing up with health and wellness, and I have volunteered to do 3 things, part of which I think I'm going to be in contact with Louise on. Number 1, I'm going to be hosting a sound bite is what I'm going to call it, but we're going to do an interview with Carol Calandra on September 29th around suicide prevention and the Veterans Center and what they do. So if anyone would, because September is Suicide Prevention Month, if anyone wants to be involved in that, let me know. I just really she does amazing work with the vets and amazing work up and down the college to give us information about suicide prevention. And so I really want to record her, give her a chance to speak out. I really don't want this to go beyond 20 minutes because like I keep telling all of you, we're all over 2-hour Zoom meetings. I know that, 1-hour Zoom meetings. So that's coming up September 29th. Domestic violence, I will probably do something, talk to Louise, and we'll probably do something around domestic violence. I think there's a lot going on that I've seen from other campuses, and that's for the month of October. And then for the month of November, hoping to connect with Emmanuel because there's something called the Great American Smokeout. And one of the things that we've done is we've collected cigarette butts around campus and had a competition to see who could collect the most. And even back then, we gave them masks and gloves to pick them up and put them in plastic bags because that was just nasty and health hazardous. But maybe talk to Emmanuel about doing something, maybe a picture collage or something for November. But if you don't know Veer at Health and Wellness, get to know her. She's awesome. She's really looking to see how she can partner because normally they do educational prevention and they have 40 hours. They used to have 2 people working 20 hours each. Now they're down to 10 hours. So 10 hours a week of health and wellness prevention. So they could really use some support. So if there's an activity that you can think of, broaden your horizon and think of how can I include mental health? How can I include sexual health? How can I include just, general physical health in any of my programs? And think about that as well. I too sat in Jasmine's meeting regarding Black-Brown solidarity. And it occurred to me that I think what we're asking is something that we can all participate in without, without having to say that it's a solidarity event. Because I guess what I'm trying to say is I want everyone to think about what you do and look at it in another perspective, and how do we widen our process to be much more inclusive and intersectional. And what I mean by intersectional is that we may have an identity that we're doing a piece about suicide, but then the conversation can be, what if we looked at how does racism or oppression affect or enhance suicidal ideations, right? So that we open up our perspective. Or if we're going to do something around Spirit Week or homecoming, that we include a piece on date rape or bystander intervention. Because if we were on campus, these events oftentimes at four-year institutions involve alcohol, and a lot of times that there's a lot more that happens. So when we start thinking about your events, I'm going to challenge you to ask you to think intersectionality and to think about, is there another way that by making one small change, can I include or broaden my conversation? Because when we do that, remember going back to all of our pre-summer work, you know, when we talked about intersectionality, we talked about power and privilege, we talked about anti-Blackness, how does it appear in our work? Now is the opportunity to change that. So the challenge for all of you is to think, how can I change one thing in my program that maybe includes another perspective, another point of view, or examine the intersectionality where those two identities cross in what you do. So I'm asking you all to step up your game. Kelly, when we talk about Constitutional Day, you can have a whole conversation around how were Black people involved in that conversation around the Constitution, right? That's a really simple way to even expand that whole conversation. And by doing that, you've raised your game a notch. Okay. Again, thank you all very much. I'm looking at the messages, not the messages, the board reports. Thank you to everyone who's put their board report in. That matters a lot. So that's all I've got. Thank you all.
Thank you, Carrie. We can go ahead and move on to the next agenda item, which is shared governance discussion. If anyone had anything they want to bring up at this time to clarify something that someone said during the report, they want to share in a meeting they attended, now is the time that we can do so.
Lindsay?
So oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna ask, actually, Chris, like, is it the Canvas, is it for like all students or is it for like the executive team? I'm not exactly sure.
Not sure I'm allowed to answer that during this.
Oh, really?
Meeting, but it's for clubs and organizations. So it's like ICC training, basically. It's like training.
I see. Got it. Thank you.
But I wanted to talk maybe a little bit briefly about the discussion that we had with Canvas and dive into that a little bit more about the survey that's going to go out. So kind of during the meeting, I guess the long and short of it is, let me open up my notes here. I took some notes. Where that, well, we decided to kind of split the survey because there was a portion of the survey that focused specifically on like needs based off of COVID. And then just, you know, it was kind of in the middle of the whole survey, which the whole survey was kind of focused on tech. So we talked about splitting that COVID portion off into a separate survey so that we can get a more targeted response. And we kind of talked about, you know, why we're doing that and so that, you know, we're kind of responding to students right now as their needs are kind of, you know, put forward with COVID. And we didn't want to dilute the survey. So I don't know, David was there at the meeting and Emmanuel was there too. So I don't know if you want to chime in and add more to that.
Are you talking about the survey?
Yeah, the survey.
Yeah, so we talked about the different parts that it had. It goes into technology access. It goes into the impacts that students had going into the COVID-19 pandemic. And that was a large part of the conversation. It was about whether we wanted to keep that portion in because it might influence the responses to the rest of the survey. I thought personally that we should have kept it in, just because I would like to get students' perspective on how our institution wasn't prepared to go completely virtual. And I think that if we get responses on how we could be prepared for the future, then we'd be able to provide a more forms of education, I guess. Either way, because we should be able to provide online education anyways, and we weren't.
I mean, I think the whole concern that Candace was talking about during the meeting was that this is like a plan. This survey is going to affect a plan that has, 3-year long, I forgot how many years long, but, years long reach. So our concern was if we put in a section about COVID, then our responses will be skewed, and then we will put into action, things that are going to have effect after the pandemic is over for years and years, because we have to establish a plan now for technology that's going to last, for legacy. So that was kind of the concern. I mean, I was kind of also bringing up the issue of, I think what David's talked about last meeting of that we have to kind of take more of a holistic approach towards this. And I think Candace agreed, but it's also kind of difficult because I know her focus is on tech, but that, we also have to think about students' access to housing and food before we can also think about their technology needs. So that was also a concern that was brought up. But I think that's pretty much it. I don't know if anyone else wants to say anything or ask because it's a discussion, but that was kind of the gist of our meeting with Candace.
Yeah, so.
Which item is this?
A shared governance discussion.
Okay, thank you.
So this plan is from 2021 to 2025. And yeah, I think Chris was able to point out a good thing, so was David, of trying to possibly put a COVID-19 survey up front so that we can actually ensure we get the students' most important response, which is to how they're doing at the moment. And I actually haven't received an email since we last spoke from her, but we're gonna meet up again. And besides that, they also talked about promoting data security. I think that's something very important. Definitely in a time that everyone's virtual, and we can only benefit from that. I'm not sure if you can correct me, David or Chris, but out of this 6-part survey, was it going to remain that? Or were they just going to, did we kind of emphasize more on putting it up top?
I don't know. We ran out of time, so we're kind of gonna set up another meeting and talk about it more.
All right. And that is it. Thank you.
So if I could just add to this discussion, I think a lot of us were caught off guard on how to go remote fully as a full campus and to attend to students' needs holistically. And I agree with you that at this point, we need to know what students are experiencing from a holistic perspective. I do want you to understand that there are ed code regulations that govern distance education, and also that limit things that could be considered correspondence education. And I think a lot of you may have experienced that in spring where you never saw your instructor again. I know David shared this with us last year, where you never saw your instructor, and Chris too, right? Never saw your instructor for the rest of spring, and you just got sent, work. So that's considered being like a correspondence school. That's not really considered teaching. And one of the things is that the chancellor's office and the governor had to suspend the regulations that govern distance education and figure out what that meant to be able to allow for all courses to be remote and what that standard is. And we know that I'm hoping it's better this semester because all faculty were required to do training on what distance education should look like and be fully engaging, right? So I just want you to know, I know it's, the why weren't we prepared? I mean, I could honestly say who's really prepared for a pandemic? And we weren't the only ones who weren't prepared. The ones who were prepared who are the ones who have robust online education and distance education. Those are the colleges that were prepared. And a lot of the smaller colleges were able to pivot more easily than larger colleges with larger sections and larger populations. So I just want you to understand this and understand a broader context in all the things that, as you critique things and as you're being presented and having these meetings, to be really asking yourself about, I wonder what else is involved in this decision making. I wonder what I don't know. And then to educate yourself so that you can communicate those things and really be able to see the gaps, not only from a student experiencing it, but also from a leadership perspective, and to establish your ability to be able to convey that information to students. So you can't just say, oh, why weren't we able to pivot? Well, I mean, I've never been through a pandemic before. I've never ever been in this situation, and I've been in higher ed for 30 plus years. So, to start asking those critical questions when you're in these meetings, and always think, what is it that I don't know? What else is involved in this decision? For one, as you go forward in your leadership roles, people should be asking those same things of you. And then when you get critiqued or people say you didn't do all these things, but they're not aware of the decision making that has gone on not behind closed doors, but even in this meeting, because they're not participating in this meeting, right? So I think you should offer the benefit of the doubt of what you don't know and ask. Be learners, right? Educate yourself. Don't just critique, ask. Educate yourself, become the leader so that you can convey the information. And then when you see gaps, you say, well, you said this, this, and this, but what about this? And then that's where we need to focus. And then I think you can have really more impactful, input on these decisions. And, once again, I think you need to be at the table when these decisions are made. So my 4 cents.
Madam Chair Mackenzie, point of, information. And so you all know you can interrupt the meeting for the point of order. But anyway, it's 15 minutes until calendar committee. Who's going to calendar?
I am.
I am as well.
Myself as well.
Okay, so if you all go, make sure we don't lose quorum is my only request, okay?
Right.
Do we have any further discussion on this topic, or can we move on in the agenda?
I'd like to add, I think that I know I have questioned the way certain things run because I don't know of them. And when I have given my opinion, I don't know if I can speak for everyone, but I'm speaking for myself. And I've given my opinion as a student, someone who's not a part of AS. That's why I got involved, so that I could question these things. And I appreciate when a lot of, someone who's been very open to helping me when I have questions is Lizette Barnhart. And I appreciate that they allow us to ask questions. But one of the things that I've addressed is if there's a section for public comment in these agendas, why don't we distribute them? Why don't we make them more accessible? And that might also solve an issue in the future for those who follow after us, because they may have those questions too. Sometimes, as a non-traditional student, it sometimes feels like we're not represented, because the idea of K through 16 is what follows community college and any type of higher education. So I hope I didn't offend anyone whenever I've mentioned anything. Thank you.
Thank you for that input, Emmanuel. Did anyone else have any further discussion for this?
I just want you to know, I expect you all to ask questions. That's your job, right? And I don't want you to deter you from that.
Right. Yeah.
No further discussion, and we'll go ahead and move on in the agenda with action items. And our first action item is action item A, AS promotional items, which is brought to us by Jasmine. And Jasmine, I'll go ahead and bring up the links as you speak.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Hello, everyone. I did want to propose an action item, or have an action item to be approved for the purpose of purchasing pens, agendas, in order to support students in their academic planning and wellness during these unprecedented times. I know it would be really, really helpful to have a little piece of PCC at home while we're virtually, in order to help us feel organized and connected and even productive. So yeah, with that, I wanted to present to you all the agendas that I am getting through for imprint. I think Mackenzie has that link.
Let me share my screen again. This is the first one that you sent me.
Yeah, so these are the pens. So if you can scroll down a little bit lower, I think it might be in this section here. Right there, the Universal Stylus pen. That's going to be one of the ones that I'm proposing to purchase, and then the agendas, and they will have the Associated Students of Pasadena City College printed on them, as well as the agendas. You can pull that one up, please. Oh.
It took me to another pen.
So is that the pen? Sorry, y'all. Okay, maybe I can send you the new links.
I can also search for it here too.
So the description on the agendas would be just let's see. It's the weekly assignment. It's called the weekly assignment notebook. If you can just type that in the search bar for me. Thank you so much, Mackenzie. I appreciate that. Yeah. So it would just be this Spyro notebook, and it has a weekly agenda inside, and it would be Black, as well as have the AS logo on top, and some type of contact info for per se Instagram or our email, or even the website that they can reach us on. But that's about it. I did want to present this action item to you all in hopes to get this approved for the purpose of support and motivation. And each of the items would be 1,000 1,000 agendas and 1,000 pens.
Can you put up the budget, your budget page? That with the budget request? There you go.
And this is the budget request here with the itemized receipt of pens and planners, not to exceed $5,000 from the giveaways or promotional budget.
Do you have any comments, questions, or concerns? If there's no discussion for this, then I'd like to entertain a motion to approve this budget.
So let me remind you all, a good motion will have the name, all the details, and what budget area this is coming from.
And can I make a suggestion that you approve each item separately? My concern is that anything over $3,000, we're now being told has to go to the Board of Trustees. So you might want to make sure that each item is under $3,000 or $3,000 or less.
And so go back to the budget page so people have the information.
Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question about the planners and the pens? I know that for the pens, it's kind of like you're just going to be putting the AS logo. I wonder if anyone's going to be in charge of designing the planner other than just putting the AS logo. And then, because I know there's probably going to be one page that is like how they could reach out to us.
Here for the design of the notebooks, do we need more than the logo? Or?
I think Carrie froze, but
so
oh, go ahead, Carrie.
I wasn't sure if you want me to answer it. So typically for imprint, they only have one imprint area, and that is on the front page. And what I've asked Jasmine to do is to include our website or your web address, your Instagram on there, because it won't, they don't have a blank page on the inside. So it's just going to be your logo on the front and your IG address. Jasmine, can we look at the price option? Because I'm going to highly suggest that we drop our number down to under 3,000 for that, that we get less than, I think we were going to do 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You can type in the number. Yeah. So, okay. Works up to 19. Let's just keep it at that.
Okay.
Because I think we went to 3,500 because we were looking at shipping and.
Yeah, we were looking at shipping.
Okay. So let's do this then. The total amount let's approve them separately.
Okay.
And I would approve the pens for 1,000. And how much was the planners again?
Price wise or quantity?
So 1,000. I would say 2,500 for the planners. I can't see printing and tax and shipping being more than 500.
Okay. Can I entertain that motion, or does it have to be someone
You certainly
else?
can. You can make it. You don't entertain the motion because you're the chair, but you can make a motion.
Oh.
Before we, I guess, make a motion, like I just wanted to ask, how are we gonna like give this to students? Are they gonna sign up for it, or are we going to use it at events, or just randomly distribute it? Because I'm guessing 1,000 wouldn't be enough to send one to everybody.
Other question too is, are we going to pay for a logistics company to ship this out, or are we going to, hack it? I don't know. Like maybe I missed it, but that too.
No, both of these questions are actually really, really valid. And that is something that we discussed about, Carrie and I, when I was proposing to get some of these items. I really want to reach out to students and have them and have a way of students to be interactive and connect with us, right? So it would be per our events. So if you have, if there's an event and a student comes in, maybe we could drop the Google Doc link or a Google form in order for them to tell us where they're from, what programs they're involved with, and they can either, and we can either send the agendas or the pens to the program and have them send it, or depending on how they write in the form, like what their preferred method of delivery would be. That's kind of like the way I was projecting that. But I do agree that you know, this is really, really emphasizing in the fact that in hopes that students are participating in our events and are connecting with us and know that we're here for them. And like I said, they have a little piece of PCC back. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I know I was gonna. Oh no, I just want to say that this is like really great. I like really like I feel like I hope that I'm echoing everybody else too when I say seems like a really great idea. I just also wanted to say like maybe like kind of to get people to I guess be more inclusive with us is maybe setting out or kind of compiling a newsletter sort of thing, so we can kind of put out like committee applications, or if you have any surveys you want people to know about, so they can sign up with like an email listserv, and we can create our own like AS email listserv, which might be a, like initiative for them to actually get this. And second thing is this agenda, is it by the year or is it like any year? Like, can we use it any year? Because then we can order probably more at one time if you guys think that this is something that you guys could use well beyond just this academic year. Because a lot of these agendas, they don't have months or like year dates on them. You can just put it in yourself, which I think might be good.
Yeah. I noticed that this one is just like a 41-week assignment planner. It has no calendar dates or anything. So even if, you know, like there's 1 week where you fall off, you want to hop back on, like you can still, you know, utilize that agenda because it isn't dated. It's not really, you know, it's up to our discretion to like fill it out and, you know, custom make it to our needs. But I do agree that it should have a little bit more input. Even like maybe having some resources in the planner would be a really, really good idea. And I don't know, just ways, I'm just looking for ways for folks to stay connected and, you know, still feel the perks of the associated students. Like, meanwhile, we're not on campus. I know that this would be something that, you know, we provide for them at the beginning of the school year. Even just little pens and stuff like that. That's kind of what I was hinting at. So thank you.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I think actually I was like more so saying like we should make it less specific to the year. So maybe if we can include not less information about AS, just maybe very general information so that this can be repeated year after year, and we can just use it as like an incentive item for them to actually sign up for our like events or newsletters or whatever you want to, like surveys. Yeah. Okay. Sorry,
Carrie.
So the reason why we're kind of going with something like this is because it's an immediate turnaround, that you will have these as soon as we pay them, probably within 10 days to hand out. If you, I keep hearing questions about let's personalize this, let's put stuff in there. That type of work is usually done over the summer, and it's usually a 6 to 10 week process so that we can have them on time. And AS used to be actually lobby committee used to do that because they would personalize a whole planner, as you remember, with a lot of stuff for students. So at this point, we did not do that this year because we didn't think we were going to be able to hand out 7,000 because of where students were. And this is just something, it's a combination between getting something to students who need it now. Because if we were to do some of these things that you want to do, we're talking now a 6 to 8 week process.
Yeah, no, I was sorry. No, Carrie, I was more so saying that like it's good that we have it not specific to the year. So it's good that it doesn't have too much specific information so we can reuse it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we still have quorum? How many folks did we lose? We're down to 5 of you?
We have quorum.
Okay.
Did we have any other comments, questions, or concerns on this item? I see no further discussion, then I'd like to entertain a motion to approve.
You actually have lost quorum because you have 10 voting members. So it's 50% plus 1, so you need 6.
We have 8 voting members.
You have 8? Oh, that's right. I'll be quiet now.
I had to do the math too. Don't worry.
Carry your math because clearly, usually like my math.
I didn't. I already knew. No, I'm just kidding.
Why did you tell us, Jordan?
I like to see people score. No, I'm just kidding.
I would like to entertain a motion to approve the item for, or the pens in the budget regarding the giveaway. Sorry, the promotional, in the promotional budget for 1,500.
I'd like to
No,
move
no.
that motion. Oh,
Sorry, Carrie. Sorry,
No.
Carrie, shake her head.
sorry.
That's okay. We'll do them separately. I was going to say $1,000 is what you had. Jordan's got his hands up.
Never mind. I
And don't forget, Jasmine, you're making a motion.
I would like to make a move.
No, you're making a motion. Okay. So these are like little technicality things. When you move, that means you're approving what the person, mainly the chair, said. Any of you can make a motion. You don't need to wait for the chair to do it. And the way you do it, you just simply say, I would like to motion to.
I would like to make a motion to approve the pens item through the promotional / giveaways budget for 1,500.
I second that motion.
Go ahead and bring this to a vote. That's with Louise,
Aye.
Jasmine,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Ellie,
Aye.
and Kyle.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Jasmine, would you like to entertain another motion?
Yes, I would like to entertain another motion to approve the purchase of planners from the promotional / giveaway budgets that cost with the cost of 3,500.
I'd like to move that motion.
This one, I'm going to recommend that you not put it at 3,500, that you put it at 2,500.
Okay, I would like to entertain a motion to approve. Oh, sorry. I would like to make a motion to approve the planners purchase through the promotional / giveaways budget for the cost of 2,500.
All right, a quick question. Before we vote on this, I have a question for either Carrie or Dean Cobb. The question's pertaining to, in the AS budget, I think we have a specific category for like postage and those kind of things. Can we entertain two motions here? One for like $2,999.99 for planners, and the second for $500 postage?
Oh, look at you being smart. Yes, we can.
I like
Yes, we absolutely can, Kyle. I'm sorry, you can.
Yeah. I was thinking because it's not listed, but it's still under the listed amounts. I think you're fine.
Yeah.
Okay, then I entertain a motion to put 2,999.
So you all don't entertain. You just move. Just
Okay,
say I move to. Yes, there you go.
I motion that we spend or allocate $2,999.99 for planners.
I second.
To come out of where?
To come out of our budget for giveaway items. I forget the specific name we have for it.
Promotions and giveaways.
Promotions and giveaways. There you go.
All right, we had a first by Kyle, Jasmine. Let me just write this down and then we'll bring it to vote. All right, we'll start off with Louise.
Aye.
Jasmine.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Ellie.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Did we have another motion that we wanted to do? Didn't we want to do for postage?
I motion that we spend $500 on postage
To come out of?
to come out of our budget for postage. I forget the date.
Postage.
Yeah.
I move.
We move first by Kyle, second by Louise. Go ahead and bring this to a vote. Louise.
Aye.
Jasmine.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
David.
Aye.
Kelly.
Aye.
Oh, aye.
All right, motion passes. Let me pull up the agenda now. Okay, so now we can move on to the next action item, mission statement, which is brought to us by David. David, the floor is yours. Oh, and I can stop sharing my screen.
Cool. All right. So even though this is brought as an action item, it's more going to be a discussion with action at the end. It is. So our last year's mission statement was, we, the Associated Students, commit to a student-led collaboration towards building an equitable community that fosters the empowerment of our students. We move to be a presence that is unifying for our students in our endeavor to be accessible and adaptable to better suit their needs. In order to reestablish the confidence of our students, we strive for transparency and welcome accountability. Executive Board 2019-2020. And so I wanted to ask you all, what are the core values that we as an organization and would like to emphasize for this year, and how can we translate that into our mission statement? So this is more poised to all of you. What are the things that you think that we should be prioritizing this year? I know that for us, obviously accessibility is probably number one.
We talked about transparency a lot. Do we still want to run with that? Question.
I don't know. I think, would you say, I think we're pretty transparent already. I don't know, but
It also doesn't hurt to put it in the mission statement too, if it's something that we're saying.
Kidoki, what's anything else?
I think this is like the one that we always have, but advocacy even more now, right?
Advocacy, okay.
We like representation, because we're placing a lot of emphasis on like minority groups and how we want to incorporate that into our action.
I guess I would go. Okay.
Yeah, I was in the lines of like that you have empowerment of students of regarding like diversity. But yeah, I really like the emphasis on empowerment and representation.
Okay.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so you think that these are representative of what we want to achieve this year?
Yes.
Okay, so we, the Associated Students of Pasadena City College. This is a lot easier to do last year when we were in person. Okay. It's just in like collaboration. Commit ourselves to
Can we write like non-discriminatory and anti-racist practices as well?
We actually have that in our AS Constitution.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. This is also for you all to like just scream out what you want in your mission statement.
Dean Cobb also suggested equity and anti-racism.
To advocating
How can we? Okay.
Our practices should be anti-racist and inclusive. Or sorry, I'm just thinking out loud here.
It's okay.
Even if it's mentioned in our documents, I think it's okay if we restate it in our mission statement. I don't think it hurts to say it there, and plus not everyone's going to go into our documents and our constitution to find what our.
It's hard to hear you, to be honest.
Can you hear me now?
A little better.
How about now?
You're yelling at us.
Commit appears twice in this.
Yeah. So I like that start of that sentence. We move. We move.
We can copy things from last year.
I was gonna say we commit to the fight for equity or towards equity.
A little violent.
Fight. Just kidding.
Move to. So yeah, we can copy things from last year. We moved to foster.
To bridge equity gaps or
Okay.
It says learning space, but can we put it can we maybe replace that with campus so that's more
We're not on a campus, so that's
Can we say community instead then?
close. Providing transparency or providing advocacy, transparency, and empowerment. Somewhere along those lines.
I think this is a good start. I don't know how to move on from here. How do we like this so far?
Let's see. We, the Associated Students of Pasadena City College, commit ourselves to be accessible to our students. We move to foster a community that is anti-racist and inclusive for all students in our endeavor to close equity gaps in education. It flows for sure. Does everyone?
We just need like one or two more sentences.
Yeah.
Did you use all your words, or are you using some of last year's too? Sorry, I had to step away.
Some of last year's, yeah. Kind of copying the same structure.
Okay.
I want to put something in there about the advocacy piece that we talked about. Like something that says that we're representing him, or
we aim to advocate for our students to
maybe we aspire to empower our students through advocacy, representation, and whatever else y'all want to put at that last
I
part.
mean, I think the second sentence has like a social justice slant to it, which is good, but I think we might also want to address academics or careers or something like that, because that's also important to the students.
Mm.
Okay. I'm gonna show this to you all so you all just can make edits this directly. Because
To clarify, is this an action item or a discussion item?
it's both.
Okay, interesting.
So we don't have to take action on it today if we don't feel it's finalized.
Because technically we are revising our mission statement, so it can be either or. That's everyone on the call, right? Oh, wait, no.
Wow.
Wait, how did
It's Penalty again. I
Okay.
know, it's so confusing.
I just write AS and wait for your names to pop up.
that's everything, right? Okay, just in the interest of time, do we think this is a good stopping point? We could come back to this later. But I think so far, this is good. Because I did want to do this with everyone here. I didn't want to like just dictate the whole process.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Well, we can move on. We can do this another time. I think so far, this is enough to develop our application rubric that we have also scheduled for today too.
I gave you an example, and maybe if you wanted to get rid of the inclusive in the prior sentence, and rather than inclusive, you might want to use the word affirming, and then advocating for holistic engagement and inclusion of the student voice. I'm trying to use all your words up. Just a suggestion.
We'll paste that on there. Okay. Do we want to move on?
Yeah. We just
You
pull
can
it
check the agenda again.
I'm pulling it up. Wait, this bar. I hate every time I pull up share my screen, the bar for Zoom moves and blocks me from everything I need. Okay, but yeah. So we just no action on this then?
Move to table. I don't know. I move to table to next meeting.
A second.
Sorry, my mind is blank for when we're tabling. Do I have to do a full vote for that also?
Yes.
Let me just pull you. Let me see all of you on my screens.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll start off with Louise. How do you vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Chris?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
David?
Hi.
Kyle?
Aye.
All right. Then it has officially been tabled, so we can go ahead and move on to discussion items. Discussion item A, appointment rubric, which we're back to David. Do I need to stop sharing my screen again?
I forgot I have that right next. Okay.
Stop sharing.
Well, I just made a blank little template here. Going back to the mission statement. Oh, I don't know if we. Jesus.
Did you get there?
The little Zoom thing's like covering my tabs. It's so annoying. Okay. What do you guys want to see in the qualities that the applications that we're gonna get? What do you guys want to like? What do you guys value the most?
So for me, I want to see their drive, especially considering we're remote learning. We all got a lot of stuff going on. I want to see what's keeping them motivated. So for me, drive. If people are all right.
Say ambitions, maybe. Ambitions. Okay, next.
I want to see time management.
We need better time management.
I think, okay, so I think based off of whether they were able to submit their application in time speaks a lot to their time management. I don't know if we can really, if they can even really convey that through their application truthfully. So
I think organization, because, you know, I deal with a lot of data, but I also know that the business services person also does a lot of numbers and data, and you have to keep track of that.
organization, okay. Anything else?
I was gonna say, oh, I don't know. This is kind of hard to put into words, but that kind of like you feel like there's a match. I don't know. That's too odd to like actually put it down, but like some sort of kind of like, ooh, it feels right, or like they're very like natural. Like it doesn't seem forced. But I guess that's also like I don't want that to like be used against them if it's not a flaw.
Like candidness, I feel like that's
Yeah.
objective, but I mean,
How about authenticity?
yeah,
I think that's better.
I think that's a good word to put.
Authenticity. Okay.
Leadership. I mean, I think some of my questions like really emphasize in how they take an initiative as a leader.
And by leadership, do you mean like leadership experience, or like the qualities that they have that would seem?
I would say qualities of leadership.
So what kind of qualities do you think that would be?
I would say taking an initiative, having values as a leader, say, you know, and everything kind of goes back to being ambitious, organized, and authentic. But if they don't see themselves as a leader, then, you know, that kind of puts forth like how they're going to present themselves or how they can advocate for other people, right?
I kind of want to be cautious about adding that, just because like it's kind of a thing that if we're adding, we're kind of looking for a specific answer, and if one of the answers has the word leadership in it, then we give like that's the thing that I'm worried about.
Any extensions?
So
maybe like how well they convey themselves, like communication, like.
What about communication? I like communication.
Because that's something that you can obviously kind of tell, like how to carry themselves, how well they are at explaining their ideas or goals or.
Yeah, I think definitely going off of leadership, we could definitely put maybe
I
like
about that the other day, so thank you for bringing that up.
Maybe
I was afraid to get into
your
it.
meeting.
God is not for the faint of heart.
like team player.
Gary, we can hear the calendar meeting.
Points of discussion.
Okay, so for leadership, do we want to keep leadership experience there? Do we value knowing what kind of leadership experiences our applicants have?
Can I say something?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think so. I don't think putting leadership experience is crucial to your committee members because this may be their first time in a sort of leadership role. And just because they don't have leadership experience doesn't mean that we can't develop them. So I just get a little bit hesitant with like putting things like experience when it's one thing to put that down if you're gonna let's say look for somebody for business services. Obviously you're gonna want leadership experience because it's a leadership role, right? But for committee members, I would say maybe not sort of experience, but yeah, I don't know. I'm hesitant with putting experience in there for committee.
I mean, I kind of feel like in some.
Just for the VPs though.
We maybe
Some
just
cases less is.
Oh, thanks, David. You mean the thing that's at the top that I didn't read? Thanks. So then, yes, I feel like that's, yes, I feel like you should put leadership experience in there. I feel, okay, then I feel very strongly for that.
And just also going off of that, maybe like team player, because like AS is a team, and it's just also, it's not about like exactly all their ambitions, but also how well they are able to like mesh well with other people's ideas. Sorry, Mackenzie.
So
No, you're good.
I would say, how do these things represent what you just said your mission is? How, if you are now seeking people to reflect the mission that you're creating, you need to utilize the words you just came up with. And I mean, you can have things like organization, all that stuff is important too. But I mean, you're really trying to see how are these students going to advocate for other students, and how are they going to reflect the mission you just said, and the values that you just said are important and reflect associated students. And I just want you to know, I'm always going to play devil's advocate.
We love that, making sure we're staying on our toes.
So in the rubric, how can we convey that through maybe social awareness, whether they are aware of the issues that are going on right now? And I'm just wondering how we would even be able to identify their willingness to act.
Well, I mean, maybe during the interview, we can ask them what is a problem you see on campus, and how, if you were elected or selected, how would you help to fix that issue, right? I think that's something that is like a non-biased question.
Okay. So do we keep this one here? That one?
And why? Well, social awareness means, and because I'm not your generation, so social awareness means what it, could mean
woke.
What? Yeah, it's, well, not just woke, but what is current? I mean,
Right.
how are you differentiating, like, oh, what's current socially versus societal awareness, right? So I would say, those of you who are involved in statewide student senate, what are some of the things, the terms and the things that you are experiencing in through those experiences, as well as what are the things that you all on this group have to be cognizant about as student leaders and as AS? Because that's what you need to be looking for.
Yeah.
So I know it's hard to find the words to express, to demonstrate that, but I would look at it from the perspective of what is it that you all have to demonstrate when you show up for shared governance meetings. So you want to, so social awareness, knowledge of current student issues, right? I know that it may not fit in that little box.
We can parenthesize it and maybe put that as part of social awareness, or should we make that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So for social awareness, do we want to keep that on this rubric, or do we want to make like a separate one for the interview process?
Because this is for only the paper?
Yes.
Paper screening?
Yeah.
And what do you consider leadership experience?
Leadership experience, I don't know. I'm kind of the perspective that I'm thinking about when I was appointed. Before I was appointed last year to my position, I had no leadership experience, right? I wasn't doing AS in high school, or ASB, or whatever you call it. I wasn't involved in clubs in high school either. I didn't volunteer in a community. So it's kind of like, I don't want that to be a barrier. Like if we just give them like a 2 or something, I don't know. I'm just thinking from my perspective, right? There's always a first time for people like me.
But even being a committee member shows leadership, so.
Being involved?
And I think
But what if somebody hasn't been involved on campus but is really active in their church in a leadership role, or someone is a parent, which is absolutely a leadership role? I mean, so I guess my goal is to get you all to be on the same page and how when you're saying leadership experience, that you all are operating from the same point of what that looks like. Because it may not be positional leadership, right? It may not be in a structured position or committee or AS group or club or organization. And is it narrowed to that, or is it expanded?
So I guess maybe I'm just thinking like on the back end of this, what kind of question we can ask that would, that would help us give them a score. And I'm just thinking maybe for this question, it's like, can you think of a situation where you took charge, something like that, where you, something like that.
So I just changed that to willingness to lead because, and we can assess that through the questions that we ask, whether we would know whether they're willing to step up to the position and the responsibilities that it entails. And
that's nice language.
And for I also added equity mindedness, and that's just that'll also just structure the way that we think of the questions that we want to ask. Yeah. So does this look like a good list of values that we want to?
Yeah, and I kind of feel like less is more because I'm just thinking we're gonna have to ask at least one question for each of these things, and I don't want to, take too much of the time with the committee and of the person that we're interviewing. So,
explain the promptness of submission. What does that mean, and why is that something you're scoring?
So Kyle raised up on time management. So I guess like the promptness of submit, just because we can't accurately assess someone's time management skills by what they put in their application. So I would say that the promptness of their submission would reflect whether they're good at time management. So if they submitted it early, I don't know if we want to put like extra points, or would we assess that as 5, or if they turned it in on the day of, that would be like, I don't know, 4 or something like that. Or if they turned it in late, that'd be lower or something. I don't know. But what do you?
So if they turned it in, but it was 5 minutes before it was due, but they worked full time and they're parents, and yet they still managed to complete this, and they're students, right? Would you say that person, because they weren't able to submit it well in advance, has no time management? I would think that's an assumption, right? I'm not assuming they do, but so I'm not sure where, so what, I turned it in, that doesn't, what relevancy does that have on the position? They had time on their hands to turn it in.
With that considered, I just remove it.
I think it would also be a reflection of whether they have the time for this position. If they have responsibilities that are preventing them from submitting this in time, is this the right role for them? And are they able to adequately serve our students?
So I feel like
I'm not saying anybody being late. I'm saying not, if it's 5 minutes before the deadline, it's still on time.
Yeah.
I feel like that's all stuff that you can get in an interview. You like doing it, basing somebody's, promptness on getting it in on time versus somebody that turned it in a week later is not necessarily indicative of their time management. Now, if I were to ask a question in an interview that was like, you have 3 deadlines you need to meet, and you give them 3 specific projects. You have a deadline for calendar committee, you have a deadline for your class, and you have, that type of thing can tell you whether or not somebody has time management skills, or whether they, right, like that kind of stuff. But I don't think you should base applications on it.
Okay. I just added it because I think we had something like that last year. So I was just like, okay, I think these 7 are good.
But do the new and improved AS.
Version 3.0.
Oh my god. All right, so this is cool. We'll use this when we're reading over applications. They're due on the 21st, so hopefully we'll have a good pool of applications to look over, and we'll get our work groups together to do that.
Let me go ahead and bring up the agenda. I think actually, if we had any other discussion, we have time to do it because we don't have any invited guests in for AS training unless the advisors have any training they'd like to throw in.
Mackenzie, Carrie just wanted me to go over motions and all of that. And then there also was a question on the YouTube that was specific, but we can do that in and out. That's okay. But yes, she wanted us to go over that if you want to move to that item.
Did anybody else have anything they want to throw in for appointment rubric before we move on? All right, and yeah, we can go ahead and move on to discussion item C, AS training. Jordan, what is yours now?
Yeah, so yeah, we'll go ahead and go over really quickly on how to make a motion second, proper language, verbatim, all that stuff, because it's always good. And thank you, Jasmine, and thank you, Kyle, for going through that and for being sort of like the reminder that we constantly, especially us too, right, as advisors, sometimes I'll forget and I'm like, David, or I don't know what to do. So it's really nice to just have a reminder. So the first thing is, you know, Mackenzie, Dean Cobb was right. Mackenzie is the only person on this entire board, or the chair, to entertain motions, because Mackenzie cannot vote unless it's during a tie. And because Mackenzie cannot make a motion, she can only entertain, right? If Mackenzie entertains a motion, somebody that somebody has made or somebody has suggested, somebody can say, move approval. And then somebody can say second, right? In just layman's terms, I think we should just keep it simple. If Mackenzie entertains a motion, somebody needs to make that motion specific. So for example, when Jasmine was approving or motioning to approve the pens for the budget, it should sound like, I move to approve what was the budget, or what was the motion that she made?
It was
I moved to approve the purchase of pens through the programming and budget and sorry, oh my gosh, I just had a brain fart.
Okay. Here, so here we'll do an example. So we'll use the AS giveaways as an example. If all in all fails, we'll try to adjust what this is, but during pre-COVID, right, when we could actually do stuff that wasn't as restrictive for financial purposes. So let's say, for example, I'm on the board, right? And we're like, okay, we're done talking, right? So I would say, I move to approve the purchase of items for the 2020-2021 academic year giveaway, totaling not to exceed 5,000 from the giveaways and whatever that budget item is, okay? That specific, if all in all fails, read the agenda if you don't know what motion to make. Usually if you read the agenda and it's an action item, it'll tell you. Unless it's something like where David had the mission statement and you all had to work on it before you had to approve it, you can even do that. You can say, I motion to approve the mission statement as edited. And then somebody can say, I second, and then you vote on that motion and then it's over and done with. Does that make sense to all of you? Yeah? Okay, so let's try practicing. Let's just do a couple, 1 or 2 people. How about Jasmine? Why don't you try it again? Let's use the AS giveaways as an example. So pretend like you're going to approve that that item within the agenda.
Okay.
Or you want a motion to, right?
So I motion to approve the purchase of promotional giveaways for the 2020-2021 academic year with a budget not to exceed $1,000.
Coming from what? Coming from
Oh,
what?
coming from the giveaway budget.
Okay, now say it again.
I motion to approve the purchase of pens for the academic year of 2021 from the budget of the giveaways category. I'm sorry,
It's okay. It's okay. So it takes a while to get used to. So the perfect sort of template that I always use is I always say, I move to approve a certain item from the budget of, right, not to exceed the amount of. So item, where it's coming from, the amount. Super simple, okay? So if I were you, Jasmine, I would say I move to approve the purchase of pens from the AS budget line item purchases and giveaways not to exceed $5,000.
Okay.
It's just plain and simple, right? So item, where it's coming from, amount, okay? Kyle, why don't you do that since you were kind of like the guinea pig? So why don't you make a motion? Oh, I don't know if you're there still.
Yeah, what do you want me to make a motion of?
Why don't you do the same thing?
Okay. I motion that we approve a $1,500. What is it? I don't know what the word for it is.
So let's try item, where it's coming from, and amount.
Okay. I motion that we accept the $22,999.99 for planners coming out of our budget for promotional items.
Sure. Plain and simple, right? So again, what we'll try to do is we'll try to use this template if it is an item. So if, let's say, for example, we're just using to approve the mission statement, it's obviously just going to be the item, right? So I motion to approve the mission statement as edited. It's plain and simple, right? When it has to deal with a budget, you have to say what the budget's for, so the item, where it's coming from, and then how much in total, right? Yeah. So always remember too, with money, you cannot add on, you can only reduce. So let's say, for example, this 5,000 wasn't enough, right? You would have to not either, there would be no action taken, or you'd have to strike it from the agenda if you realize, oh, or, you know, before the agenda is approved, you can strike it and say, I need to come back and re-edit this budget, right? So always remember that with money, you cannot add, you can only subtract from it, which is why Dean Cobb's suggestion of let's lower this to this amount was okay, because it was lowering the amount. So that would be it. Does that everybody kind of understand that, where that comes from? Okay, how to make a motion. I will try to send out something just to remind everybody, like an email, like simple, all that stuff. So that way it's just easier to understand, okay? And thanks.
Mackenzie, can I add something to that? Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
So what I just also wanted to add with that, I'm glad Jordan went over the item, because when we put in items, I want you to be very aware that sometimes you will put a very specific amount in there. And when you do that, you're stuck and there's nothing else you can do. So the item as described in the motion, we generally ask that you make it pretty generic, because that gives you the room to maneuver. Like we had this whole conversation about, can we add postage? Because we were under the total amount that was reported, I'd let it go, even though postage was not added as an item that we were spending the money on. So do you see how important when you write up the item that goes in that is posted, that is what I consider posted to the public. The backup information is usually backup information, and I hold you to a little bit of a lesser standard with that, but what is posted on the front is what is important. That's the item, and that's what the public looks at. So it's a little bit of, I want you to feel free to explore this and kind of go around with it. I know it's very difficult. It's using words that are foreign, but the more you practice with it, the more you'll get used to it. And even if we have to stop doing an item and really work this out, I believe you all are learning, and that's great. I do want to point out though, if you want to be really technical, during this item, everyone made and seconded 3 different items, and technically those items are still open because you did not vote on them. So just be really aware, once you make a motion and it's seconded, it can go for a vote. If you don't like the way it came out, just simply say, I forget, what is the exact verbiage, Jordan? I rescind my motion.
Yeah, you just say I rescind my motion.
Yeah.
If the firster, if the person that made the motion originally rescinds the motion, then the seconder doesn't necessarily have to retract that. The first person retracted them.
So just, we're practicing, we're learning. This is why we have these times. So that's all I got.
And you all are doing great.
Yes, you are.
Thank you to both of you. Did we have anything else that we wanted to cover during training at this time, or should we move on to the
I just wanted to add, please say I move, not I motion, because motion is a noun and I will cry.
Great, thank you, David. Carrie, is there anything else we wanted to cover during AS training for today, or is this all we wanted to go over?
Just an update that we will, Jordan and I were discussing, and I think what we will probably be looking to do for training is probably have a mid-semester kind of correction. So Jordan and I will get together and maybe pick a date in October where we're going to ask to do maybe a 2 to 3 hour session where it's just a training to review what we've been doing and see if we can make a few corrections and tweaks. I think you've now operated in the system, so now it's like, okay, let's fill a couple of places.
Thank you, Carrie. So if there is no further discussion, we can go ahead and move on with the agenda. We'll go on to appointments to college-wide committees. I actually would like to appoint student Connie Rivera to sit in on the Student Success Committee because we do need regular students. That's the only appointment I have right now. Carrie Dean Cobb, is there any other committees we need to appoint someone to at this time that we haven't already?
I don't know if you want to appoint anyone for Academic Senate. I mean, what was I going to say? College Council?
Didn't we do that?
Because you do need 2, or you can have 2 more members.
Okay. Let me double check my notes because I thought we did that one last time. Let's take a second for this. Okay, I guess I didn't. All right, so David, how many was it we need for College Council? You
I
said
think at the moment we just have you. But our board bylaws do say that we can have 3 voting members. And so that's a possibility if you want to do that.
Is there anybody who wanted to serve on College Council? It's actually a pretty interesting meeting to go to. You get to see everyone. You get to see Dean Cobb again. Because it'll really be helpful if it's more than just me going, so we can get more inputs and perspectives there. And it's a lot of people, so I know it may seem a little scary at first, but they are very welcoming, and you won't be alone there. I'll be there with you.
And it's really important that's the first place everyone sees any changes to policy and procedure. Campus-wide policy and procedure.
Kenzie, is there like a set time for that?
Yes.
Dean Cobb, do you know it off the top of your head? If not, I can pull it up.
So I think it's important to realize, I know this might not be the most ideal way, but somebody can be appointed. And then if somebody, let's say, Jasmine or whoever, Kelly gets appointed, you can catch up one of your committee members who might want to do it, and they can get appointed if you don't have the time to do it anymore. So you can also do that. But it's just nice to get somebody on there that can have the institutional memory of being on there the entire semester. But if you can't, and you can't commit to it all the time, you can catch up your committee members, and then they can be the ones that report back
to the executive board.
I really highly suggest that you hold some space for your committee folks because it provides a different perspective and it introduces non-AS people to what this life is like. And that's one of your main recruitment tools. And I think it provides a diversity in appointment. So while yes, I think it's important we do fill all 3 people, this also, I would suggest that you send David McKenzie or someone else, but really hold some space for your committees.
I would, but I think I heard somewhere that having a trustee on these shared governance, like big shared governance committees is kind of a conflict. So yeah.
Oh, that's okay, then.
You probably shouldn't be on the committee that looks at policy and procedure before it goes to the board.
Then I would put one other person, but I really am pushing for you to get your committees together so that way you can pull people for these things because you really need to diversify your opinions.
Thank you, Carrie. And then also, Kelly, I found the times. They're on Thursdays from 10:30 to 12. So the next meeting is on the 17th.
Blocked off my schedule so that for work, so I only work certain days because I know that I would get busy, but I have Thursday open for them, so I don't really know. Like they probably won't schedule me in the morning.
Once a month.
Oh, it's once a month?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to commit myself to this because I know that I'll have to switch my shift every time, and like there's no guarantee that I will get someone to switch with me.
If there's no one on here who thinks that they can serve on it, like Carrie said, we can open it up to our committees and find other people who can serve on this as well.
I could take it on.
I'll add you on. All right. So for college council, I'll be serving on it along with Louise.
Kenzie also had a question. For the lobby fee fund committee, would you like to appoint people here? Because I know like either it's technically just, I guess, David and Louise, but if Alex wanted to do it and David didn't have time to, you could probably do that as well. Because I know that the required members are, I think, you and Louise.
So who is it that's serving on it in total?
So I think it was David and Christina. Sorry, David and Christina. And if one of them can't make it, I think Alex also would be down to do that. It's just gonna be, at least we're just projected to have one meeting on the 14th.
Okay, so to sit on the lobby fee committee, I'll be serving on it along with David, Christina, and we'll have Alex as an alternate.
Thank you.
That's all. If that's all we have for college-wide committees, we can move on the agenda to appointment to AS committees. We have none right now. We can go ahead and move on to bill acceptance. So Kelly, we're back to you. I'll pull it up right now.
Yes, ma'am.
So Kelly, I don't know if you want to go ahead and.
Oh, okay, I'm ready. Yeah, I just so as like a brief summary again, it's the AB 376, which is the Student Borrower Bill of Rights, because California, having this bill would make California the first state in our entire nation to create essentially a set of rights for people holding student debt, because this has never really been created before. So it's definitely a milestone and a trailblazing piece of legislation. In regards to, like, we've talked a lot about equity. So I guess a piece in here that talks about that is, according to the study, a typical white male borrower pays off 44% of his debt 12 years after starting school, while the typical Black female borrower sees her balance grow by 13% in that time, because a lot of these loans, they target people that maybe are not that educated, and they eventually end up paying extremely high amounts for what they originally borrowed, which was maybe a minimum, or maybe not even half as much as they have to end up paying by the time they actually are able to pay it off. There's 3.7 million Californians in California holding student debt. This is a large amount of people, and I feel like something like this would be extremely beneficial. Like mortgages and credit cards, they all have industry-wide frameworks at the federal level to make sure that there's no, I guess, people getting taken advantage of and nobody not understanding what they're signing up for. So essentially the 4 main points of this legislation is that it bans abusive student loan servicing practices. It creates a minimum servicing standards, which is basically, it's related to the application of payments, paperwork, and retention, so that it's all kind of, there's a broad kind of unity in that sense. So it's not very specific. They can't be really shady about it. And to establish a student borrower advocate within the DBO, which is the Department of Business Oversight, to be responsible actually for reviewing complaints, gathering this data, and helping students out. Lastly, to grant the DBO, the Department of Business Oversight, market monitoring authorities, basically establishing a team to collect better data about student loan servicing industry so that we can actually see what's going on here and prevent people, especially disadvantaged people, from being more taken advantage of. Yeah, and sorry if that was fast. I just wanted to get it done before our 12 or 2 o'clock deadline. So with that being said, I guess I would like to move. Sorry, I don't want to move anything. Is there any like problems or any concern about this? Questions?
So you do want to move for bill acceptance?
Okay. Thank you, Dean Cobb. With that being
You
said,
don't want a motion,
yeah,
but you want to move.
Okay, got it. Sorry, thank you. With that being said, I would like to move to accept the Borrow Bill of Rights to our AS agenda for advocacy.
Kelly, just say you'd like to move to accept AB 376, the student loan servicing, or whatever the bill is called.
I would like to move AB 376.
Approval.
Approval for 370. I would like to move to approve Bill AB 376 to our bill acceptance. All right.
Moved by Kelly. Do we have a second?
I second.
Go ahead and bring this to a vote. Jasmine?
Aye.
We can't hear you. What was that?
Because we're voting on to approve the bill. I was just calling for your vote.
Did you call my name?
I think she said yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I.
Kyle? Kelly?
Aye.
David? David?
Aye.
Okay, that's everyone.
Yeah.
Sorry, my mic is not liking me right now. All right, moving on to public comment on non-agenda items. I don't think we have any members of the public on the YouTube. Let's see, announcements. Does anybody have any announcements?
Oh wait, Mackenzie, sorry, there was a comment on the YouTube. Sorry. I'm like, basically somebody just commented and said where they can find the committee agendas. They were asking where that's accessible to. So I'll give suggestions after the meeting has been adjourned.
In that case, then we just move on. Because right now our agendas are going to be posted on the website, but we don't have them posted right now. So to answer that public comments, when they are available, we'll have them posted on our website. We'll be putting them up on our social media so you can get access to them. Okay, move on to future meeting dates and times. September 16th. Make sure you submit any agenda items and supplemental items that go with it by the 10th. Where your agenda is currently posted. We send them out to Frances, and she's supposed to be putting them on the website. We also promote on our Instagram. So we always put our YouTube link in the bios. Let's see. Did I forget anything? Yep. Agenda items August 10th. Oh, this is okay. All right. Meeting adjourned then at 2:02. Oh wait, no. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting at 2:02.
I move to adjourn.
I second.
First by David, second by Louise. Brings to a vote. David.
Aye.
Aye.
Kyle,
Aye.
Jasmine,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
and Louise,
Oh, I thought I already said aye.
Kelly.
Aye.
All right, then meeting adjourned. Let's see. Let's have to check this thing. Let me just go ahead and stop.
Make sure you press stop on YouTube before we